Evening. It's November 13th, 7 p.m. We are going to have our Monroe Township School District Building Grounds Transportation and Security Committee meeting. Present for the meeting is myself, Chairman Pete Piro, Ms. Giselle Bora, Ms. Kate Ratner, Ms. Katie Fabiano, Dr. Adam Lehman, Mr. Gerald Tay, Donna Martyr from Transportation, Edward Subby from Security. We're going to start a meeting off, I believe, with a ESIP project presentation. We'll turn it over to Mr. Tate to introduce the people, how we're going to do it.
Certainly. So as the board and committee knows with weekly reports, Honeywell has been working diligently over the last several months, putting together our ESIP plan. Carolyn Jackson and her team are here tonight to present where we are and what the next steps are. So Carolyn, and just one thing, everyone was provided a copy of the presentation. What we have tonight is a little bit different, a few last minute edits and so on. So,
yeah, it's actually just a format change, so I could, go through one at a time. So again, I'm Carolyn Jackson. It's nice to see you all again. Thanks for having us here. With me, I have Paul Peters, Emily Lee, and Catherine. Paul and Emily are energy engineers. They've been going through all your facilities, taking different measurements, counts, etc. Catherine has been helping orchestrate some of our partners who are specialists in different areas as well, bringing different mechanical subcontractors through, etc. So Tim Ladder also, he met the other times as at parent-teacher conference night with his kids, so he's not here. We did not. So again, I started. Right, sorry, guys. Okay. So that's our introduction. Don't need to do that again. This is my overview. Again, lots of acronyms. I always say this. Please let us know if I say anything, but I think you've got it now. We're doing an ESIP project, Energy Savings Improvement Program. The next steps will be to work with the Board of Public Utilities to get it approved. And I'll try not to say the acronyms, but they're there for you. Once again, just to remind everyone, this project is administered through the BPU. It's a program that the goal is to capture energy savings for certain upgrades that are needed and important for the improvement of your buildings and for energy savings, and then using those energy savings to fund the improvements. So the goal of the program is to be fully funded with energy savings, rebates, grants, and operational savings. And it's all processed through the BPU. They check it and manage the program. So in your case, you have about a $2 million electric bill. What we see in our analysis, which is very close to what we had, when we came here about 6 months ago, a little bit over that, is an opportunity to save about $718,000 of energy savings. We see opportunity to save on some projects that you had either in your budget or will save your maintenance, like for example, the LED lighting. You have lamps and ballasts that you maintain on a regular basis, and there's inventory for those new lights, those new ballasts. New LED fixtures would make those all new and reduce your costs in those areas. That would be your operational cost. So that's kind of an overview. And so what we have here also, looking at what we've been looking at all the projects and applying what's available through JCP&L and PSE&G through custom and prescriptive rebates. We're bringing you a base project that's fully funded and sort of a stretch project with all the other things I know that Jerry would like to see get done, but we can only fund what we can fund within the energy savings rebates and grants. But I wanted you to kind of see both. So, so the estimated rebates for our base project are about $590,000. So that's contributing with the savings to fund your project. In terms of our process right now, we have, we're wrapping up phase one. We're going to be bringing you the energy savings plan with your final selections. We will be bringing that to your third party that you've selected to review the calculations, and then that will be going to the BPU over like the next month and a half. We should have that done. From there, the next thing we're going to be doing too is deciding on the type of financing and, going to contract. Then we can then design and procure and go to construction, trying to get healthily ahead of the summer construction schedule, right? Some things will be able to be done in this next spring and summer and fall. Some things, because of lead time, might have to wait till the summer after. So that'll be determined. So in terms of review of process, again, just letting you know, you've been working on your local government energy audits are complete. Your intake form, which is just a process step in the BPU, is submitted. Yeah, and we've completed, just about complete, just to put a final information together on the energy savings plans, which is organizing your baseline, completing site visits from multiple vendors, multiple times. I said multiple vendors, multiple teams. We have the lighting team, the building management team, the mechanical team, coordinating current projects with planned projects. We know you have your ROD grant going on at Applegarth, and looking at what projects you've completed that we can like expand and extend with. I'm looking at the rebate and grant opportunities, which are changing daily. Programs are running out, but they're all renewing in January. We just got approval 2 weeks ago. I say we, the state of New Jersey, that those programs are going forward, and they're very good. That's why that number is so nice and healthy, that 590,000. And then we're also working on solar as well. So we have written an RFP, coordinated what roofs and what areas would be good for solar. We can talk about that a little bit here. And that's with your attorney being reviewed right now. Once that's done, we'll set a schedule for that and be getting back that information. So one of the items we've estimated on this is the rate for solar. We've estimated about 4 cents per kWh. Currently you're, I think like a 12.4 cents. Is that what it is right now? Their average rate for all the buildings. So we won't have that information until the bids come back. But that's what we've been seeing in the market. So you did complete the resolution to go forward with the RFP. And then right after that, we got it to the attorney. We're just waiting for that to be reviewed. So this is the eye chart that I gave you. And the purpose of this is to just let you know on the left-hand side, all the different things we evaluated. Some of those are kind of like suggested and part of your local government energy audit, which is like a BPU. You're using another firm to do that. But some of them are also, so we evaluate all the things that we know they're going to ask us about. Some of them get selected, some of them don't. For our base project, all the items in green are selected. The check marks with no highlight are evaluated, not selected in this version, like we're working it. And then the orange are being accomplished through your ROD grant. And which is, we surveyed, we haven't done that work yet, so we're kind of identifying it, but they will be accomplished in your ROD grant. And then we did, like I said, come up with an alternate. So if we get a better solar rate, if we get a better finance rate, like again, we just pick an average right now, and then you'll go to bid for financing or decide if it's refunding bond or municipal lease purchase. That's one of the next steps. So I just want to let you know what the variables are. So these are the items. I'm just going to go through really quickly and verbally tell you what the different items that we're looking at that are part of the project. Oh, wait, but first I moved this up so that if you got bored, you would have cut the prices. So the base project, those are all the things in green are, and we have to, because we have not gone through our internal approvals yet. These are the budgetary benchmark, right? Once you tell us, we'll pull it all together, we'll do our last and final and go for internal approvals to bring you a project that will be not to exceed, no change orders, all those things. But we're budgeting it to be about $12 million. That's fully funded with energy savings, rebates, and grants. So right now, there's no capital contribution. That's the zero you see there. We estimate a 4.25% finance rate, a 4% solar PPA rate. That's your cost for anything we can generate with solar. It'll be a certain percentage of each building. And then incentives at 590,000. Just so you have an idea of the solar savings, because some people are like, wait, we like solar. No, we don't like solar. It's the base project, our budget estimate, it'll have to go out to RFP and we'll see, is about $2.6 million in savings over the 15 years. So that's significant. With, once you take, that's doing a lot of different, that will fund a lot of work for the district. So they both have a total positive cash flow. When we check the blue dots on that map and that I gave you, that takes you up to about 16 million. So there's not that much savings. We're doing the savings are coming from lighting, building envelope. Certain things are really driving the savings. Those are in both of the projects. It's just more capital work. And that's why we put $4 million. Like that we can't pay for savings. There just isn't savings. But if we get a better solar rate, if we get a better finance rate, we can go to that bucket and pull things out and pull them into the project if you choose. Some districts do decide to put capital into a project. I have no idea if that's an option, but I've been pushed to a couple where they're like, wait, we want to get more, we want to get more. Let's just do it. So I just want to put that out. That's where we stand and that's where we're working. We're focusing on the base project, but we will go into that other list if we get, if you decide to go forward and if you want to do the other things. if we get extra savings. So now I'm just gonna go through the measures. Actually, let me just pause a second. Does anyone have a question on what I presented so far? You good? Okay. So LED lighting, that would be district-wide, interior and exterior lights, taking older non-LED lights and upgrading them to LED. It's, just a very good energy savings, reduces cost, and does improve the lighting. Now, this lighting here is beautiful, but in some areas you get different colored bulbs and older lighting. Some of the older fixtures will get renovated to new fixtures. Some will just be a retrofit and leaving the existing fixture. Some of them you can't retrofit, but we'll make a good decision and the best value decision for Monroe. Just as a simple thing in the high school art room, we could not find our picture of the art room, but basically D-strap bands, it's just a little warm in that room. D-strap bands are energy savings. We did look at them for all the different large spaces. The payback just isn't that good, but it does like circulate the air and make sure your thermostat is, you're not losing all your heat in the ceiling or all your cooling on the floor. So there's new boiler systems proposed for the middle and woodland schools, and we do have alternates on that if we can move to those. New rooftop units at the middle school. There's 3 different areas. I have a picture there kind of highlighting the large rooftop unit where we'd also be doing the roof as part of that project. So that's kind of a nice project for Jerry to be able to give to us to handle the roof and the rooftop unit in that space, as well as 2 other large units at the middle school. New pumps and motors and VFDs at the middle school associated with some of the work that you've already started there. And that will save energy and reduce future maintenance costs. New chillers, Woodland and Barclay Brook were the 2 schools that were the oldest chillers, and those were prioritized there. Building management system, a little different solution for each one, but we're touching the middle Woodland High School admin and transportation. The high school admin and transportation are just more tweaks, looking at set points, maybe some time of day control in the admin transportation. The middle and woodland are going into each and every single unit and upgrading controls. The controls are over 20 years old. The components, the controllers that turn things on and off, are the brains of the system that save you the energy, that make sure your temperature is right. Those are old and obsolete, so Jerry can no longer get them when they fail. And he's got to make do or find an old one. Is that right, Jerry? Yeah, so these are the 2 that were prioritized. There are a few other schools on our alternate list as well to go into that depth and change the controls. But, they weren't put into this project as it is. Building envelope, this is an energy savings. This is also really good on the custom rebates as well. That's going to each school and looking at the door sweeps, insulation, windows, just making sure everything is tight, that you're only heating and cooling the air you want to. You're not bringing in extra to heat or cool. Combined heat and power is a green technology. That would be the high school. That's a technology that takes less expensive gas and makes electricity that then powers your building. But that process makes heat, and then the heat is used to supplement your hot water in the building. And by using this technology, it qualifies you to do a 20-year loan on this project. That's one of the things that BPU has put in as a qualifier. And you're lucky that the school has a full-time use of hot water and can benefit from that technology as well. And then the solar, which I have a couple slides I can go over with that for you to ask you some questions about our plans and our thoughts there. And then finally, we do also want to, talk about, and I saw Sherry at the school board's convention, and she said she'd introduce me to who we always do with some sort of enrichment or STEM enrichment. So we want to make sure we get that kicked off in the near future. So in terms of the solar, the schools that we're looking at having a solar solution, there's a couple of things that have to come together to make the solar work for a school. There has to be enough capacity on the grid for solar to be able to produce electricity. You kind of have, sometimes you make more than what you need. So it has to flow from the grid and come back. So sometimes you can't do it because there's just not the capacity in that particular area. You also need to have enough energy being used there once we save all the energy from the energy savings improvement program, projects we just went through. So the middle school is a good candidate, and it has roofs or ground that are, have the right warranty on the roofs to be able to have the solar.
So just a quick question. I never remember with solar panels or what gets you to qualify is like the direction of where the sun
Yeah.
is. Do all of the schools that you have listed potentially qualify based solely on that? Schools are larger than homes, so.
Yeah, we looked at that for each one, so not, so it's, we look at what roofs are within the 15-year warranty, and then we look at which direction the sun is in, we look at other shading of other parts of the building, or maybe like a rooftop unit.
Mhm.
So we don't, we do a design build with the RFP, so we kind of like quantify it, get it, like, look where it should be, that's what our budgets are based on right now. But then the solar PPA companies that respond will do the final design, and they're gonna be responsible to guarantee that they give you the production that they say to create those savings.
Carolyn, I
Yes.
think you're talking more, when you talk residential, you're talking, big roofs, and it's where the house is facing, so if the house isn't facing the right direction, you've got a slanted roof.
Right.
You can't, since we're dealing with flat roofs and ground mount, we can actually put the panels in any direction we need to.
Okay.
That's the
Thanks for helping with that, yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up question? So what I'm looking here, we already have 4 school items. I know that you guys are still estimating it, but you have 4 in the green box for the solar PPA. Then the middle school, Applegard, Woodland, and Oak Tree already has it, right? We
On the
have
roof, we're looking at it
solar.
around that. So
Yeah, we're
looking
looking at
Kaufman.
adding to it, yeah.
So the 4 have already been identified for this project?
Monroe,
Yes.
Applegarth, Woodland, Oak Tree, right?
And they're part of the $12 million.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're still evaluating the high school with the covered parking lot.
Yep, yep.
That's still being done.
Yep, yeah, so I'm sorry, we might have missed a green,
Because I know this was not decided, but now I'm noticing 4 greens here, so.
hold on, let me just figure out which one is not. Woodland, Oak Tree. Yeah, we forgot, is Barkley in or out? I can't remember, guys.
We cannot include that in our level,
Okay,
but we have that in the solar hub.
okay,
Yeah.
so we looked at an opportunity there, it's a small, there's only a little bit of, how do you say, availability there for solar at Barkley. So to be conservative, we don't have it calculated right now, does that make sense? But we're gonna put it out there for the solar companies to like let us know, so that'll be a bonus,
These we are confident about.
yes, yeah. And it's more about
The takes that Oak Tree is augmenting what already exists.
Yeah.
We're
Yes.
putting more panels.
on the field, but not on the roof.
So again, here's like sort of, this is a map off of the JCP&L, and this, we look to see if it's red or green, and they all met the green mark. So you see red dots, but the one on the left is for the bottom of the high school is green. The roof of the high school is in the middle of the warranty, so we won't touch that. But again, you're saving between the amount of solar we can generate at that location, you're going to save from 12 cents to about 4 cents, right? A lot depends on market, different things. The savings is estimated at over 150,000 a year. And I think I said 2.6 total. It's boarding like $2.2 million worth of projects, right? Again, these are budgets right now. But what I wanted to ask you about is, so for the high school, again, the way we're organizing the bid, if it makes sense, we're gonna have like the base bid will be for all the projects. The alternate will be not including canopies at the high school, so that we can look at what the financial impact of that is, and then you can make a decision. Now, if you see you probably can't see it on here, you can probably see it better on your, like we were like canopies, no canopies, snow removal, parking. But I think if we came a design that used your grassy areas and, let you fit it in there, it could work. When I submit, when I talked about the solar on the roof or ground mount, you're going down to 4 cents. With the solar canopies, you only go down to about, the last bid we had, which was like 4 or 5 years ago for canopies, was like 10 cents per kWh. So it's bringing you renewable energy. It does offer you a lot of, like stability, because there's a lot of rates going up, a lot of things changing there's like increases coming next year to your utility rates. So by having a renewable source that's making it, it'll give you long-term like stability of what your rate is. You'll know what your rate is. It won't go up. It'll be more stable. But but it's not saving you that much. It's not funding a lot. Like, so we don't have this in our calculation at all right now with
It's
canopies.
not saving because of the different types of panels or because there's construction involved in the.
There's so much steel. So it's
The
like,
steel, okay.
so when you do a PPA, if you just did it for high school, it would probably come back at 10 cents per kWh. I'm guessing. I really don't know.
Versus 4 cents.
So it's like- Yeah, so it's a lot, but you're still having renewable energy, you have a little bit of savings. So that's why we have this as like the first one will be all the buildings, the alternate will be without it, so then we can really see what that's bringing. Does that make sense?
Just one last thing, the savings, total, are these projects, I guess, eligible for SREX, and is that included in the savings?
So there's two different ways to look at solar. There's purchasing solar, where we would have to take the capital for that, and then we'd finance it as part of the ESIP, and there would be a cost. And there's a PPA. We did the analysis for both, and it hands down the PPA was so much better. So in a PPA, there's a solar company, a developer, they actually lease space on your property and then sell you back the power. And I'm sorry, I don't know what how
I'm
much
very, very.
you know, or don't. So they lease it back. So they take the responsibility for getting the SRECs, and they get the depreciation, and they get the Inflation Reduction Act. So there is a lot of bonuses that they get that causes them to provide this to you for really no cost. So there's no finance cost on that. You don't have to finance anything. It's just pure savings that come into the project.
Thank
That's
you.
a program we would use also if we did the canopies, like PPA,
Yes.
but we wouldn't have a construction cost or anything. They
No.
would take care of it all.
Correct.
But the return is 10 cents versus the cost
Yeah.
difference is.
Yeah. And so the question is, now I know there's like, we're looking at the yellow area. I know there's an area to the right, when Sherry and I discussed this, that we might not be able to do canopies there because of some infrastructure that you have under the parking lot. But just I want you guys to, like, when we get the results for the solar, we will put it all into a format that really outlines the, the PPA rate, the efficiency of the panels, the type of companies or references, and then we'll come back to Jerry and team and analyze it. And we'll have to make a decision at some point. Do we just go with the solar on the roofs and the ground, or do we include the canopies? So if you had any questions, if you wanted to just think about it, something that you'll have to make a decision on. I mean, they can be nice because, you're not in the rain, so you have shade. So, in terms of the ESUP, I just want to remind you, this is for the base project, budget for the $12 million. It's all inclusive, right? That includes all the surveys we've been doing. It'll include the designs. It'll include the, going through the bids, project management, coordinating for sites. We'll ask Jerry and Laura if we can use a room for bid meetings, and probably have Laura like audit them for us, but everything's included. They'll be warranted for a year, training. We're bringing back proposals that are guaranteed maximum price with no change orders. So I just want you to know that that continues. We talked about that before. It's important to know. Next steps. So the next step was to take our sample project. There can be changes after this happens, but we want to get all the energy saving calculations reviewed, all our assumptions. The equipment that were selected will be reviewed by your third-party engineer, Johnson Urban. And they will provide a report that has been reviewed. They'll go back and forth a little with Emily and Paul. That's why it's all so budgetary, right? Because that's going to be checked. Then that will go to the BPU. They'll check our process as well. They'll review the third-party audit. And once we get that approved, we'll be ready to move forward. So that's a third-party review. Then you'll go to the Board of Public Utilities review. They'll provide a verification. And so again, I've been putting this up for a while, and just, every month I kind of do an update. But I think that, we will be ready to come. We're almost ready for next month to come back to you with everything. But I think that you're going to have to do some resolutions to move forward. I want you to be ready for that. And one is, we're going to get some advice from your financial advisor on the best way to finance this. And when that happens, you're going to need to do a resolution, and then either work in with the refunding bond local finance board and get that process started, or do a bid for financing. So they'll advise you on that. And I'm thinking by next month, you might be able to do the resolution on which way to go with the financing. If we have our energy savings plan back, you can adopt that. And, there's a bunch of different things, but we're not really there yet, but I just want you to know what's coming. You'll have to adopt the energy savings plan. You'll decide whether to move forward with the municipal lease or a funding bond. You'll approve the ESA project with Honeywell at a certain amount with a defined scope. You'll approve that we can update your long-range facility plan and approve we can do the Department of Education applications. So, and your bond counsel will help with that as well. So that's really all I have, unless anyone has, any more questions. Yes,
Mr. Tag, anything else?
Mr. Burke, if I can ask a question. So the 12 million cost for the evaluated and selected is what Honeywell is recommending that we should definitely consider doing. Is it possible to get a breakup of that 12 million with each of these line items on the sheet? Is it possible to? do
yeah, and
that?
that will be in your energy savings plan when we finish it, so you'll be able to see that. That's one of the
Next
form
month.
2 in the energy savings plan.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, it's right now, it's still, once we know everything, the other thing Jerry has informed us that you're interested in moving forward with the guarantee. So some of those, we have to add in a couple of tasks during installation to get you ready for that, right? It's just some, monitoring some additional tasks to be ready if you're gonna accept the guarantee. And you have more time to decide that, and we'll talk about that as well. That'll be another resolution I left off the list.
If I can ask you this question, Mr. Tate, your team has been working very closely with them throughout. So if whatever we're looking in green, does this already mean that it has been recommended by your team?
Yes.
It is.
So like when we went through the
Not gonna be-
boilers and all,
Right.
which ones are giving you the most trouble? Mill Lake, Barkley Brook, and Woodland were all put in at the same time. So we select which ones are.
So this is
biggest.
collaborative work between our administration and ESA that's coming.
Yeah, and the middle school unit with the roof is the one we pointed out to them as well. The unit takes up 80% of the roof. You can't really do a roof replacement around that unit. It has to be coupled together. We communicated that early. They worked that into the project. The D-strap fan in the art room, we communicated to them. That's just been one of those things since the school's been open. It's just been a comfort issue. And although it's not a big return, it's an opportunity for us to do something to make this a better space.
We're all a better.
Yeah, so we've worked with them on those topics.
And the last question, sorry, Kate. The ROD grant, the Applegot project for the ROD grant, you mentioned that you guys are also involved in that. So there's no, this is beyond the scope of everything else that you're doing, is that right?
Yeah, we're not really involved in it, more that you haven't completed yet, but we surveyed apple carts. So when Paul and Emily went through, they surveyed apple cart just as they would any other school. So identify the opportunities for placement. And obviously we knew that was going on. So we're just checking off the orange is saying those are really being handled. So really it would be lighting and building envelope in apple cart.
But the piece of the ROD grant that they're involved with is, so we're doing independently that construction project, but we're applicable, applying for rebates because of the savings that will be generated. So the rebates from the ROD grant will be turned into the ESIP to give us opportunities to spend it elsewhere.
Thank you.
Just one quick thing. Just when I was looking at the timeline, and I know you're usually, Mr. Tate, very good about making sure that we're working around this when possible. But I noticed like during the phase 4 of the construction, some of that overlaps during the school year. So would there be any portions of the work that will interfere with the classes that are going on at things like?
So we're very used to doing work with schools. And so really the way that we thought of the construction is lighting and building envelope can be done. We do it at night, mostly work in the evenings, make sure everything's ready for school the next day. Boilers obviously are done usually during the summer, have to be completed by October 15th. That we would make sure that happens. Some of the equipment is a longer lead time, like the chillers, so they might not be here in time to go to the next summer. So we will not interrupt class for anything. Like we will work with you, we will schedule with Jerry, we'll go to, winter break, spring break, or summer, work at night. And then we have to deal with whether it's a heating unit or a cooling unit and working off season. So again, once the final project is selected, we'll nail all that down, but be assured we'll work around the kids.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. We look forward to your feedback and
Yeah.
continued support in this project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Mr. T, can we get an update on the Applegarth HVAC upgrade? Sure.
So item number one on the agenda, the Applegarth HVAC upgrade project rebid. To refresh everybody's memory, we previously did this project. During legal review, it was advised that we reject the bids. uh, Confidential legal issues. We rejected them, we rebid. Time I indicated to you that, with the initial bid, that there was not enough funds in the ROD grant. We were going to take $300,000 additional state aid for capital improvements and apply it towards the project. As we did the rebid, the only change we made to the project, I was concerned that potentially when we rebid a project, when there's a large variable between the low bidder and the second low bidder, sometimes the low bidder will say, you know what, I've got room to come up here. We could have been in a situation where the cost went up. So I wanted us to be in a position to be able to take something off of the project if need be. So I identified the kitchen exhaust system, the kitchen hood at Applegarth Cafeteria. Now I will tell you, replacing and upgrading that is not required by code. It does not meet the standard of what we have in the other schools, and our desire was to do that with the project. So I identified that as what's called an add alternate. So it's included in the scope of the project. They identify that cost separately, and then you have the option to add it in or not accept it. So it gives you leeway, had the prices come in really high, you could take it off. So when we bid the project the first time, the low bid came from EACM Corp. That was the outfit who just completed the middle school project for us. And we were pleased with their performance, and they came in at $6.1 million inclusive. We rebid the project, and inclusive, they came in at $6,062,000. So they dropped $38,000 off their price, and they came in low again. The bid was challenged by Performance Mechanical, the number two bidder, who was
Here, 6,120,000.
yeah, so a little bit over. Their challenge was not accepted. That when the bids are done, a lot of times bidders will ask to review the bid documents of other bidders. And it's a stack of documents like this. So representative for Performance Mechanical was there. She went through all the documents. She gets up and leaves. She didn't look at all the documents because their claim was that there was a particular bid document that was not included by EACM, when in fact it was included. So their bid challenge was rejected. So we now have a situation where the combined low bid, when I say combined, I mean the base bid plus the add alternate, is at $6,062,000. What it identified for us is that $295,000, the cost to put in this exhaust system over the kitchen hood, which is an exorbitant amount of money. It is not required by code. And as long as our food service program, and I know they will comply, continue to operate as a reheat setup, and they don't fry food there, cook food, so on, we don't need the other system. I would recommend that we do not accept this add alternate. We save that $295,000 and actually the $38,000 that they came in under. So this would be $333,000 lower than the initial bid. We will not get the kitchen exhaust hood, but we get the base job that was designed for the ROD grant. So that would be my recommendation, that we proceed in that regard. What I handed to you was the draft resolution that Bush Law provided to us. We just got it this afternoon, otherwise we would have forwarded it to you electronically. And they wrote it with the alternate there, realizing that we're going to discuss it tonight and make a recommendation.
Okay.
My recommendation is to award to EACM, but not accept the add alternate. And then that puts us in a much better place to reserve that $300,000 for other infrastructure work in the district.
Anybody have a problem with that?
No problem, but just, so ESCM is who we had accepted the bid from before we had to go back to the lawyers and do rebid this, right?
Yes.
Correct.
It's the same, and that 295 is just for one school's kitchen,
Exhaust.
just
Exhaust fan.
full guard exhaust.
And that gives you an idea of
What it
how
costs.
complex it is to work in an old building.
Yeah.
So if you know where the cafeteria kitchen is in Applegarth School, it's in the lower right-hand corner. You have to put the system in, you then have to run ductwork from that up through the building, the classroom above, up into the attic space, come out the back, build a doghouse assembly, build a platform up there for a grease cleaning station, et cetera, et cetera. It's very complicated. You then, when you design that, have to put in a makeup air system, so a whole nother air conditioning system to make up the air that you're exhausting out because they're now taking a lot of air out of the space.
So this is not getting used right now, or whatever the
They don't-
unit is working fine? What's the reason?
There is none.
Well, no, there is a system there,
System
but
there,
it is
but
not like what the current systems are. Does not go up through all that, it literally goes right out the side of the wall.
Okay,
It does not have makeup air in the space because it's not exhausting that kind of space. And it does not provide you protection if you were to do
Frying and
cooking,
stuff.
those kind of things.
So it limits what can be done, but they're functioning fine without that. right
Yes.
now.
it's not causing any concerns that we need.
In my 35 years, we've never had a problem.
And food services is fine with it the way it is.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
been functioning well, and $300,000 can be spent in a lot better places. than-
Yes.
Especially after,
Absolutely.
And since it's not required by code, I would touch it.
Okay. I mean, I'm good with that. Everybody
Okay,
else
so we'll revise this resolution accordingly, and we'll have that ready for you for the next.
for the meeting next week.
Yes.
this is a great outcome.
And then if I could just touch then briefly on that $300,000. So my recommendation now would be the board approved in this current year, 24-25 budget for engineering design of controls replacements, building management systems that Caroline just talked about at Barclay Brook, Woodland, and Mill Lake. Because remember, we were doing our normal stuff before we approached ESIP, and our plan was to design them this year and construct them next year. So my recommendation would be to take that 300,000 and apply it towards those controls and do those controls ourselves. So Carolyn has the Woodland controls in here. I would say, pull that out of there. That then frees up money to apply to something else in this kind of wish list here. We independently do the 3 sets of controls like we had always done. I would rather do that than have us do 2 and they do 1. We'll get a better system, better package if we bid it all as one, all 3 schools.
But we will find a third-party contractor to do that.
Yeah, we'll do it like a normal construction project. We'll take that $300,000. We will also probably need to budget about another $350,000 out of capital for next year, which we would have done anyway. We would have budgeted $600,000 or $700,000 next year
And now we only need.
as a standard
300.
capital project. I suggest we continue to do that, and just next year, that will be our capital project, as we had always planned, design this year, build next year.
Would you not recommend Oak Tree in there? It's too much money then, because looking at this, they're covering all of the other schools besides the 3 that you mentioned and Oak Tree.
Yeah, so I think we can take Oak Tree out of that. Oak Tree is a 2008 school, so we're at 16 years on that, so we still have, that's not one of my highest priorities.
Okay.
But to keep those 3 together, they were done in the 1999 referendum, so you're looking at control systems that are 25 years old. And so it's software that's 25 years old, and you can imagine the issues.
We don't want a problem. We'd rather
So
take
we've
care
been
of
on that path of doing it ourselves. I would recommend we continue on that path, apply that $300,000 towards the path we were already on. It helps with next year's budget.
We have the money in this year's budget to do this?
We have the money in this year's budget for the design,
For
which
the
is
design, not
contracted.
for the
and is
actual
underway.
project.
Yes, and our plan was always to design it.
This year.
We're gonna finish up probably around January, February, go out to bid, like we do with all projects. Like the roofs we design one year, construct the
Right,
next year.
right.
So that was always the path we were on. I would
We'll
suggest,
have the money to do this on our own without financing in next year's budget? This controls, right? We're talking about the,
just an extra 300,000 to it, because we're gonna take this
we're
money.
gonna take 300,000 we have,
Yeah,
and it's gonna be in the 650 to 700,000 range is what we had always planned on. What I'm saying is you now have an opportunity to apply that 300,000 towards that.
towards the 600.
And it's just a less capital expenditure for next year.
So that's for the design and the construction, that's 700,000?
No, the design is in this year's budget, it's already paid for.
Okay,
The construction is next year.
okay.
So this 295,000 could go towards the construction next year.
and pulling it out of ESIP would not impact our 590,000 of the grant money that we were getting overall for that 12 million.
No, the fact that we do, we can still get the grants for it. We roll those grants into, just like we're doing with the.
Just a different channel. We'll get it otherwise, so we're gonna get that money.
Yes.
I think that's perfect. I have a question, the 300,000 that we got, did we
Asking
put
me think I'm gonna know the answer to this.
the 300,000 that, the senator had given us, that's going to,
That was a lot of the
Capital
capital
improvements too.
improvements.
right?
Yes, it's a lot
Okay,
of capital
good.
improvements.
Yeah, so
Perfect.
I was like,
I remember we talked about it, but I couldn't remember. I thought it was for capital improvement.
yes, for capital improvements.
Yes, I just want to make sure,
Right.
before I said it, I was right.
So use it for anything.
I don't want to be
Yes,
corrected on
anything,
it.
anything pertaining to
Yeah.
capital improvements.
Okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda, number 2 is the district snowplow bid. We rebid this, we have 2 bidders. There's a new low bidder this year, Custom Landscaping and Lawn Care, came in at $299,700. Garden Irrigation is the contractor who's probably been on board, I'd say, about the last decade or so. Again, that is not an amount that we're committed to paying. That is a sample amount of what could happen. Like we've talked in the past, there have been many years when we spent zero.
Right, if it doesn't snow, then we don't lose that.
Exactly. The only change to this is, in this year's budget, we were able to purchase 2 new maintenance trucks, snowplow trucks. So now that we have a better fleet, we're able to take a couple of schools off there so we can absorb more ourselves up to a certain point. So if there is snow, we'll be able to handle more of the load ourselves.
That's gonna be my question. Have, do districts, I know like there are some districts I think that handle it primarily internally. Is that the long-term goal or is it just sort of like
No, I
picking
don't-
and choosing which ones make sense for us to handle versus to outsource?
A small amount of snow.
Yeah,
and we
so
would
we have
handle it
them,
now.
there's an inch scale in there, so many inches we handle up to.
Mhm.
There comes a point in some of these big storms where we just don't have the equipment. If you've seen what they use out there, it's heavy equipment. We don't have the operators and, equipment goes for hundreds of thousands of dollars and it's just not
Mhm.
practical. So the recommendation is to make the award to the new low bidder, Bushwell, will put together the recommendation.
We've never worked with custom landscaping, right?
No. The garden irrigation came in second. He filed a letter after the fact, which Bush has reviewed and says not a formal challenge. It's more just an opinion statement that they don't think this firm is capable of handling it. But it doesn't serve as a challenge.
Interesting.
So then custom landscaping and lawn care will be the contract. Okay. HVAC upgrade?
We did that.
That's on.
What's the transportation?
We wanted to, anything, Mr. Tay, I just wanted to ask you, the high school bleachers and stuff we talked about indoor. You showed us some pictures of some damage to them. Was all those things fixed, high school bleachers?
Yes and no. So the ones you saw in the report were
Yeah.
fixed,
Okay,
but if maybe you were just, I don't know if you've seen them, they were damaged again.
no, I didn't know that.
Because there was an incident, within the last couple of weeks, there was an event, at middle school volleyball, I guess, and then unfortunately it smashed them.
Again,
We're repairing it, yeah.
we're repairing,
Yeah.
okay,
But since last thing, we did repair them, it's just unfortunately.
okay. Oh, and one other thing I want to bring up, Ms. Board asked, we do recycle, correct, in the district?
Yes.
And how does that work? Just basically where does who does the recycling, where does it go and how does?
So we have a contract, we go out to bid for trash and recycling. We're in Middlesex County, so they have what's known as single stream recycling. And we also have a shared service agreement that the township put us in many years ago, and it's held over for quite some time, where the Middlesex County Improvement Authority takes care of the recycling containers at all of the elementary schools except Applegarth. That's because at the time Applegarth was the middle school, and we put elementary schools on.
Okay,
So they take care of those containers, we pay for the trash container at those schools, and we pay for the trash and recycling at the other schools. So each of the schools has trash bins as well as the commingled recycling. Our recycling program also goes out to, you may recall seeing some of my reports, fluorescent bulbs we handle separately, batteries, tires, motor oil and antifreeze to the transportation department,
When you say
technology equipment.
commingle, that's like paper, plastic all together?
Yes.
Cardboard, plastic.
Yeah, so their recycling facilities in the county accept everything. We used to have had a dumpster that was strictly cardboard and paper, and one was bottles and cans. Now commingle this together, they can sort them themselves. And then within the schools, we have containers, for people to pick and choose which ones to.
Okay, so,
So thanks for sharing that. The reason I brought it up to Mr. Clear was that my observation has been, walking around buildings is that it's not probably, so from what I understand from you, probably the staff and the administrators have clear direction and they're following it. But are our 7,000 students being guided enough and being enforced enough? Because in the cafeteria, are they separating their bottles and, plastics from their garbage plates? From what I understand, it's not happening in the classroom, especially when there are events here that I've always heard of. And we've got big boxes that we just flatten and put right in the garbage bin because there's no recycle bin around to put it in.
I was gonna ask, are there?
And I
other
can say that
bins?
as a volunteer in the school, that I have plenty of times had to put a cardboard box right alongside with the garbage, coffee cups that could be recycled right alongside. So how can we do better in our reducing our footprints with not the staff probably has clear instructions and is following it with the major items, but if the garbage is just as it all mixed, nobody's gonna sit and separate. So how are we educating our children? How are we educating, our volunteers? There's a lot of volunteers around for events to separate this because that's where our footprints matter. Really.
maybe we could have the administration put something out, you building use. When you're done, pile your cardboard in this area,
Right.
use the recycling things. And then I would say school-wise, the principals maybe could just send reminders out or maybe remind students at lunchroom, when you're done in the lunchroom, make sure your recycling's going recycling and
100%. I think we do.
I mean, just to maybe give some advice to, and put it on, my experience in the high school here at lunchtime is, there's a couple security guards and a handful of teachers in the lunchroom. I don't think I know they have the cans, garbage, recycling, and, I'm sure some kids just don't care and throw it all in there, but I don't.
They're not doing it.
Yes, I would think that would be a building by building.
I sent you an email. They have an education program. They will come around, they will gear towards certain age groups. So it could be elementary, it could be high school. If you took those kids to a field trip down to the dump, they may get a better understanding, and someday they're not gonna be able to do that.
I'm a mom of 3 teenagers, and I'll tell you that I'm an OCD with recycling.
Right.
Yet I have to remind them every other week. I will
Yeah.
find a bottle in the garbage and I'll call the kid and say, pick it up and put it in the garbage, in the right bin. So I think
Yeah.
constant reminders, and I don't know how much.
Maybe,
focus we put
right.
into
It would be
that.
bad to try to start it with the elementary school. They bring a robot in.
It's actually.
So we do, so the township brings the recycle mobile trailer around.
Right, and
So we have, and I know Woodland and most of the schools, we bring in, there's like a mad scientist recycling guy that comes in, he does an assembly. So we definitely have a focus on it. I'd be curious to see at some of the busier times, if you're referencing lunch from a student's perspective or something like that, what the scope of,
improvement is.
Yeah,
Reminding.
what the scope of improvement could be. I think if you walk around most classrooms, they're pretty well sorted. You have the little skinny blue bag and then you have, or blue container, and then you have the, paper or the black bags we have. So, I'll bring it up to the admin team. We just had a leadership team meeting, but we can kind of cycle back, and just identify the scope of what we're looking at and put out some more messaging. I know the high school has multiple clubs that are, recycling / moving forward in terms of energy savings. There's students here that do projects that are, they're inventing devices on how to clean solar panels on roofs that are, so there's.
And those are
definitely-
great ambassadors, but it's just that they're not getting enough eyes and ears on them.
Right, so we'll see, and it could be, you know, if it needs to be better monitored in one of the cafeterias or things like that, it could be just cycling back and putting a focus on that. Yep.
Dr. Does every classroom have, or are they supposed to have, well, I was helping out with
Yes.
class parties, one class, it was funny that you brought this up because I had no idea, but I was actually looking for recycling bin in one of the classrooms. One had it, one did not. I wasn't sure if the one that had it was a unique thing or the one that didn't.
Yeah.
But they're all supposed to have
Yep.
both bins available.
Yep.
I guess sometimes we assume it's being done and, you know, we just need to go back and remind. And,
Yep.
the place that I'm often at fall sports time is our concession stand. And there is a blue bin and there are green bins, but they're all considered garbage and they all have garbage in it. So
And I
everything
think
gets,
that's a little hard.
so many pizza boxes and I know,
Maybe that's a project for one of our,
site managers or something like that.
or even one of our clubs to say, hey, we're gonna, you know, some clubs do car washes fundraiser, maybe there's an opportunity to go, if they wanna have a focus on an event and, you know, do volunteer hours to really, you know, if that's the mission statement of their club or their opportunity, maybe that's something that we could refocus.
I
You
don't
know what
know,
I'm
some
saying?
bigger garbage companies have transfer stations, so when it leaves here, it may go to a place that, I don't know. Cause I know not all counties recycle either, there's some that it all goes in and then it goes to a substation, and then it gets separated by the garbage companies and recycling goes one way. Trash goes the other, so I'm not
There's
sure.
cost to that,
If-
to separating.
Well, I don't know if the company themselves do,
Oh.
they get rid of the trash. Like I know some companies do have, the bigger Republican have transfer stations where it's sometimes it's dumped and then other times it's not. It
Right,
depends a
so
lot on the
regardless of
county.
whether it's sorted, it goes in the
Yeah.
same truck and then it's
Yeah.
resorted when they get to their destination.
Like now, if you look at your recycling in Monroe, before you used to have to separate it. Now they commingle it,
It's
all the
commingled,
recycling
right.
goes, put it out, they take it
No
all.
pizza boxes.
No pizza boxes,
Pizza
yeah.
boxes.
No chicken containers from Sam's Club, we yelled at the road department. The guy's like, you can't put that in there. I go, what do you mean? He's like, oh, it's plastic. He goes, nope, not recycling.
You know, Monroe only does to the few.
Nope, no pizza boxes either. They say anything that holds food, they don't want.
Yeah, one or two in Monroe is about nothing over that. Can't do fire.
Any,
But thank you, yes.
okay.
Thank
Dave,
you.
you were.
Thank
Good, right? Thank you, sir.
you so much.
We always appreciate all your help. Okay, let's get to our transportation department.
You're back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
You're still smiling. That's a great sign. She's smiling. She's been here a month and I like to see that smile. Is there any update you can give us? How are things going? We'd like to know how you're making out.
I'm settling in. you know,
Okay.
Getting my groove on there. Everybody's been great. Everybody's been very helpful. And even time I
Nice.
call for advice or help, and the principals have been great. We've been working together to make it run smoothly. And, you know, I'm just looking everything over. I'm trying to see, maybe able to cut costs in there. I'm not sure, but I'm looking at different ideas. I'm trying to recruit more drivers, so this way we can eventually take more of the work on ourselves. So
Are we having no problem, no double runs or anything?
no double runs,
Wow.
no double runs, no
No,
overtime.
That's a home run in itself, no double runs.
See, everybody's been working well, you know, and like I said, there's no overtime in the office. Everybody's just working their base hours, so we're saving money there. And
Okay.
I'm trying to get everybody to work as a team, the drivers, the aides, the office,
Mhm.
and it'll take time, but I really have a good feeling about it.
No, it's always a work in progress, and you know,
It is, it is.
and
But
I
I'm
always
enjoying
feel
it.
like good leadership always leads to good things, so.
And you've had no issues with sports busing? Any team had any
No, no,
timing?
no, none
Are
whatsoever.
the sports buses subbed out again, or is that, I know it used to be like
Some of
urban
them.
rock, yeah,
Them are based on.
some are based on the times and stuff.
Yes,
Okay.
and the availability of the drivers.
I usually see a bus on the side of the gym here at 2 o'clock, so I'm guessing it's a sub bus for sports, because it's luckily not all.
The coach, our buses are still the yellow buses.
The yellow bus,
They're providing for always in
sports?
Monroe.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Great.
I mean, I think that, I think we haven't had any complaints.
All right. I mean, I'll
So,
say. I'm-
and I feel that, you know, we started off in a positive manner. We would just like to keep this positive manner going.
Yeah.
You know, we'll meet with you once a month. If you have a problem, Dr. Chanley, Dr. Lehman, please hit them up right away, and, you know, anything we could do
I
to
appreciate
help
it,
out,
thank you,
we really appreciate it.
thank you, thank you very
Okay.
much.
Any questions? Anything? We good?
Keep up the good work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep smiling.
Yeah.
That'll be a good sign for us.
Yeah, no, I do. I really enjoy it, so.
That's great.
So happy to hear that.
Great to hear. We're very happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Okay, we can end this meeting now because we're gonna do security is not